Good morning, or whatever time of day it is where you might be. I'm Chuck Schroeder. I'm the founding executive director of the Rural Futures Institute at the University of Nebraska. And I'm delighted to welcome you to this first of a series of broadcasts we're doing called Catch Up with Chuck. And part of what I do in this role is travel around to rural places, meeting with interesting rural people, and I hope we can engage you in this conversation over the weeks and months to come. The Rural Futures Institute was founded late 2012. I was brought on board as their founding executive director at the end of 2013, and we have since that time been engaged in a variety of activities in order to address what we believe is a critical issue for Nebraska, for America, frankly, for people around the world, and that is thriving rural communities. So what we do fundamentally at the Rural Futures Institute is we harness the intellectual energy of the University of Nebraska across all of its campuses, along with our many partners, in order to positively influence the future of mankind. Now, our partners is a very important element of that because it includes, again, not only faculty and students across the University of Nebraska, but nonprofit organizations, private companies, government agencies, rural communities themselves, all of them working together in order to make a positive impact on humankind on this planet. So we think it's important work. Some examples of things that we do through the Rural Futures Institute. Over the last several years, we've been sending out very high talented students in what we call rural serviceships. They go into communities and work directly to solve a problem that that community has identified as being a real challenge to them, helping them pursue opportunities that they believe will take them from where they are to where they'd like to be. It's been a very successful program, not only in influencing communities, but influencing some very talented young people to think about going back to rural communities for their lives and careers. We've also hosted a series of regional rural forums around Nebraska. We've featured 6 communities that are successful in spite of all those myths about why a community can't be successful in rural America. We focused on entrepreneurs, on educators, on healthcare professionals, folks who are out there making decisions to make their community strong today and vibrant and attractive for tomorrow. We've sponsored over 50 research and education projects involving not only faculty from our various campuses of the university and other institutions, but also involving those partners that I talked about earlier, those nonprofit organizations, private companies, who again join together in order to address real world problems. And it's been an opportunity for us to look at things from leadership and entrepreneurship, broadband, small business development, leadership transition, childhood obesity, diversity, a broad variety of issues that are standing between rural communities today and where they would like to be. This last February, we launched what we think is an extremely important program, and that's our RFI Fellows. Now, everybody has a Fellows program, but we think ours is kind of unique. In our inaugural class of 26 Fellows, we have 16 faculty members, and that's sort of the traditional Fellows model, if you will, and those faculty members are not only from the University of Nebraska. We have a faculty member from Peru State College. We're constantly looking at other institutions that are working effectively in this rural space. But we also have 10 what we call Community Innovation Fellows, and these are folks that are working in nonprofit organizations that are addressing particular issues in the rural realm. They include business people, educators, healthcare professionals from rural communities who have demonstrated a track record of success in moving in a positive direction, again, defying those odds developed by economists and others who are checking off boxes on a spreadsheet. We think the future of the Rural Futures Institute can be built around those fellows. So that's what we do, but perhaps as important in this first conversation is why we do what we do. What do we believe in? We've been involved in a very serious strategic planning process for the Rural Futures Institute. Started last December, has carried us over the last several months, where we really took an in-depth look at, again, not only what we do, but what we believe. What we believe that underlies the decisions that we make every day about where we're going with this institute. So let me describe those for you. Number one, and fundamentally, we believe in people's capacity to determine their own future. We don't believe that past is prologue. We don't believe that analyses done on high and rain down on rural communities should define their future and their success. We believe that people can choose to pursue their own future. So we are in the business of supporting those folks who say, you know what, I'm not okay with where we are. I think I know where we'd like to go. We know that there are barriers between here and there. I'm going to need a little help. We want to be in the business of helping those folks who indeed are determining the future for their family, their community, and by the way, the future of our species on the planet. We also believe in communities. We believe communities are the key to a thriving culture and a thriving society. In our vernacular, communities are not just places. Communities are networks of people who bring together a broad variety of talents, of strengths, of interests, of passions, share those things together in order to move toward a common purpose. So we think there are communities of rural educators. We think there are communities of rural healthcare people, communities of business people, of entrepreneurs. So again, we try to be good at connecting the dots, bringing people together in a community where they can work most effectively with the best resources we can provide them in order to move in a positive direction. We believe in leadership. We believe leadership is the fundamental tool that can be used to drive a community in a particular direction. So we think that leaders, by the way, are known by their vision, their energy, their passions, their engagement in a particular cause. What do we not believe in? We don't believe that leaders are defined by their titles. We think that's an old notion. So we're constantly looking for those new leaders of this generation, indeed, that have a strong vision for their own communities. We believe in entrepreneurs. We believe that the entrepreneurial spirit of a community has much to do with its capacity to make decisions to move in a direction that may be difficult, may have challenges, but has people willing to take that step forward. Fear is not a barrier for them to take a step in the direction of their dreams. So we think entrepreneurs can be business people. We think they can be educators. We think they can come from all sectors of the community, but those folks who have that creative, innovative drive to move in a positive direction. We also believe that diversity and inclusion, driven by strong leaders in a community, is critical to the success of today's smaller community. It's a different world than it was decades and generations ago. So we have to have leaders there today that are willing to draw those folks into the circle of activity in a community that perhaps in the past have been left on the sidelines. Finally, we believe that our very complex future with rural communities requires a strong, viable, ongoing dialogue between rural and urban audiences. So we're not just talking to ourselves out in rural communities. We're talking to people across the spectrum to understand that we need each other, that we're in this thing together. And by the way, we do believe it's critical to the viability of mankind. So if those values, those belief statements perhaps match up with what stirs around in your heart, I hope you'll be in touch with. I hope you'll follow the Rural Futures Institute and our activities. Engage with us where you can, because we believe that collectively we can make a difference. Well, when we think about how we make a difference from the standpoint of the Rural Futures Institute, we think there's a very important nexus. And I think we're going to throw a graphic up on the screen to help you see that. This grew out of our strategic planning process that we engaged over several months. And that nexus involves students. We have students across the University of Nebraska campuses, as well as coming to us from other areas. We had students in our serviceship program this summer from Indiana. But those students who have a strong interest in rural communities. Many of them come from the rural sector, so they want to go back there and contribute to their community. But we also have students from LA, Chicago, you name it, who have really grasped the notion that a strong, viable rural sector is critically important to us. Had a great visit with a young man from New York who's a student at Peru State College just a few months ago. His father is an investment banker on Wall Street. His mother is a senior administrator at a major hospital in Manhattan. So he came from as urban a background as you possibly can. Came to rural Nebraska to school, actually on a baseball scholarship, has fallen in love with this culture and has come to understand that it's important to him as a New Yorker that a place like Peru, small communities in the heartland of America, not only survive but thrive going forward in order for the fabric of America to be strong. Second element of that nexus, no surprise to you, is faculty. Our Fellows program has been one means by which we've been able to engage faculty from across our campuses. Really some of the brightest minds that we have in a variety of disciplines who have come forward and said, we believe this work is really important and we're willing to dedicate some of our time and talent to it. We've also involved over 120 faculty in those research and teaching projects that I mentioned earlier. And they, in turn, have been involved with nearly 200 rural communities, again, addressing real-world problems, ranging from leadership and entrepreneurship to leadership transition to healthcare to education to broadband to diversity and leadership in communities. It's been a great partnership. Well, the third element of that nexus is communities. We're not working at 30,000 feet at the Rural Futures Institute, seeing all rural communities as alike and trying to rain down solutions on those poor folks that live out there. No, we are engaged directly with rural communities, recognizing that every community has its own character, its own strength, its own set of assets. And so we believe when we can bring those three pieces together and target some of our resources in that green spot in the middle, it is where we have the best opportunity to make a difference for a community that's trying to go from where it's been to where it would like to be. So let me just say that we believe fundamentally that if a community is going to be strong, if a community is going to be resilient, if a community is going to have an opportunity to deal with adversity. Gosh, I just, in the last 2 days, had an opportunity to revisit conversations with folks from Pilger, Nebraska, that in 2014 was 75% of the town blown away by twin tornadoes. The folks at Pilger said, you know what, our town isn't going to die. And by the way, we're not just going to come back, we are going to reinvent ourselves. Reinvent ourselves. They developed a powerful vision. We supported their planning activities in partnership with the Heartland Center for Leadership Development, with folks from Nebraska Extension. Worked together with folks in that community who said, we're going to rebuild. And they have. They have come back in a community, a small community in a very rural sector of Nebraska that, by the way, is stronger than it was before that tornado. It's amazing. But we believe that a thriving community grows from within. Supporting local businesses, local entrepreneurs, having the school at the center as a partner in the strength of a community, having healthcare folks in that community that know the people who are there, who bring a high-touch approach to the high-tech that is being used to deliver healthcare today. So let me just say, in coming weeks, we hope you'll come back and join us again and again for this Catch Up with Chuck conversation. We're going to be talking with rural people. We're going to be visiting rural places. We're going to be sharing success stories, stories of innovators, of good thinkers, of good doers who are out there creating rural communities that are a legitimate best choice for those families that are looking for a place to invest their time, their talent, their energy, their values in a place where they can make a difference. So we're going to be talking about broadband, healthcare, education, leadership, entrepreneurship, all of those things. So I hope you'll come back and join us again and again. Good day.